All right, hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Rob here at Smirking Gun Reviews. It's Monday, so it's time to talk about Batman the Animated Series. We're doing every episode, and we're at The Cat in the Claw. Now, for me, this is a little bit of a bone of contention because they say that this first part was aired first. Now, maybe that's true. I have I don't remember a lot of things that are good, but I remember uh, when I've seen movies and when I can still remember certain days of like when I saw Empire Strikes Back, or you know when I see brand new television shows when I was a kid, and I remember On Leather Wings being the one that aired first in my area of Illinois. That's how I remember it. Maybe I'm remembering it wrong, but it's such a strong memory that I just feel like so when I started this, I purposely left this one out, and I should have just ran with what they said. And so the episode numbers now got screwed up. So I'm not even going to include these as episode numbers. I'm just going to call it The Cat in the Claw, Part 1 and 2 on the description, as you see when you clicked on it. And I'll still fight to the end, I can't go back in time, but I don't know why it bothers me so much, but it does. We'll get back to the regular numbers after this episode, and I'm just going to call, this is episode 1 and 8. So next week we'll be reviewing episode 9. Because I also did the Joker's Christmas with the Joker in there as kind of a thing too. So I'm screwing things up, continuity wise. So we'll be on track starting next week with the Poison Ivy introduction. So this episode, The Cat in the Claw, is the introduction of Catwoman, played by Adrienne Barbeau. If you don't know who Adrienne Barbeau is, for all of you young people, anybody that watches this, she is a well-accomplished actress who is in movies like Escape from New York. For DC fans, she was in the original Swamp Thing movie, not the show, the original movie. She's done some Swamp Thing stuff though. I think voice work. Maybe I think she might even have been in the show that they just released on DC Universe, but I don't know that for sure. She was also the voice, I didn't know this, of the computer in John Carpenter's The Thing. That's really interesting. It's going to make me have to really pay attention now when I rewatch that movie. We also have Kate Mulgrew as Red Claw in this. Kate Mulgrew is doing her best. Well, we know now where her name is, oh God. On Orange is the New Black, her name is Red. No, I know that they could have just been saying that because she's a Russian, right? They'd call her Red, right? But she also has red hair. But she also played Red Claw. Come on, coincidence? There's a few things that are coincidences in here, maybe, but come on. Red plays Red Claw, and she was also Captain Janeway on Star Trek Voyager. I also really remember her from Throw Mama from the Train, where she played Billy Crystal's ex-wife, who falls off the ship, and they presume that she's dead. There's also Herb Edelman, who plays Stern. He's he's died in '96. He was in everything from The Odd Couple to The Golden Girls. Frank Welker is the voice of Isis, which I thought was funny that that's the name. And then this is a two-parter, so it's directed by Kevin Altieri and Dick Seavest. Um, Kevin, in the trivia for this, he did something kind of unheard of, and we'll get to that. There's a real bit of animation that's really cool that was kind of unheard of at the time. But when they designed Catwoman for the show, they wanted her to look like the Tim Burton movies. Now, I look at this and I don't see that at all, really. It's just that maybe she's in a one-piece leather outfit, but the gold belt, the gold chain around her belt, and the fact that, come on, Catwoman's thing was covered in stitch marks, and the claws were homemade. These look like professional ones. I guess maybe they thought it was too S&M for kids, because that doesn't really look to me anything like the Catwoman from the Burton movies at all. There's also let's see, this is where they talk about the two parts were produced as the 15th and 16th episode. Part 1, though, was aired first. It says on September 5th, and that part 2 is later aired. Um, and then there's a few other things on here. But let's get into the episode. Well, before we get into the episode, right? Um, there is another thing about how they use this time goes by when Catwoman says she loves Batwoman, and that's now used as part of the Warner Brothers logo intro. But as we always do, we try to talk about a couple of people from the production crew, and this time we're going to be talking about the storyboarders because kind of some of the animation in here is interesting, and they would have had to do a lot of storyboard work in every. Duh, of course they would. Sorry. I've just got like a lot of stuff laying around, and I'm trying to keep myself organized. Like notes and tablets, and there's papers everywhere. I was writing a lot about this episode. So we're going to talk really quickly that Braf Rader, he was one of the storyboarders on this. He's done work from Big Mouth to all the way to like 1982 with the Little Rascals show. And then Tony Salmons, he's done work on Invincible Iron Man and Aeon Flux. So there's a little tip of the hat to a couple of the storyboard artists that worked on this episode. So this being the intro to Catwoman to the animated show, of course we get her in a robbery. She's robbing somebody in a high skyscraper. Now, she breaks in, but she uses her cat to go get the jewels. And I was kind of thinking to myself, okay, so you've got a trained cat who can see the laser grid, and it steals the jewels for you. And I was like, is she really that great of a thief? I mean, okay, she's a great animal trainer, maybe, and she can climb the ceiling. I mean, it's all part of the package. Of course she's a good thief, but she came up with a really interesting idea, and the cat's never played this kind of role in the Burton movies. But Bat pursues her. There is this a very impressive animation when she sees Batman for the first time, and they have that close-up of him, and it, like the guy that did the storyboards on Aeon Flux, that bit of animation actually looked like Aeon Flux animation, where it's close up and kind of pointed up from the ground up at Batman. It was really interesting. They don't do that very often. And she calls him magnificent. Well, she tries to get away. You know, they keep showing like how they're pretty close in skill. She keeps thinking she's got him beat, but he's like Droopy or Michael Myers. Like he's just always like right there. Like as soon as she turns around, she thinks he's away. He's like, "Hi." Like, "Hello, Joe." She's lucky it's not Michael Myers. But then, just like if you corner an animal, when he gets her cornered, she fights back. She uses her claws and knocks a bunch of garbage cans over him. So apparently that's what stops Batman, is a bunch of garbage cans. Because they need her for the story to get away. So she, gets to the top of a rooftop. Her cat gets left behind. He saves her cat. And, she whistles, like a little animal whistle, and it goes to her. And he whistles, like, I don't whistle well. And finds like he's like impressed. He lets her go though, which to me is just like, keep going. She's just on a rooftop. But he finds cat fur as evidence, and I thought they were going to use that as actual evidence instead of just waiting for it to be a callback later in part 2. But Bruce Wayne goes to this eligible bachelor event where he sells himself for a date with a woman who has the money to pay for it. They don't have any setup for this. It's just something that's happening, which is fine. Usually if this was like a movie, they would have said something about setting up this event so that when it happens, it doesn't feel just like completely dropped on you. But it's fine. They've got like 20 minutes to tell an episode story, right? So Selena bids 10 grand on him and wins, but she's not really interested in the date. She's only interested in she's spending money to help her. I don't know how that works. Like she's putting her own money into his charity, and it's for the wildlife. This one guy calls her a wildlife nut who has this mountain lion preserve outside of Gotham, or wants this land to buy a mountain lion preserve outside of Gotham. And I was just kind of thinking to myself, Gotham City, and I bring this up later and I wrote it down, like Gotham City outside the outskirts of town has like a whole bunch of mountain lions running around. Okay. Um, Bruce blushes and he actually gets. She's not interested in a date, but he convinces her to take lunch. And the sirens roll because it's Gotham City, and he pulls a Superman and just dips out of there. You know, like, where do you go? And we have this great car chase where pretty much the whole reason for it is for Gordon to talk to Batman about how this terrorist organization called Red Claw is in town. Um, and they're these ruthless terrorists, and they're assuming it's a guy. You know, spoiler alert, right? It's, you know, if you've seen this episode, if you watch this, or if you're just watching this because you like watching me rant and rave or something, fine. But they're assuming that Red Claw is a man. Spoiler alert, like I said earlier, Red Claw is played by Kate Mulgrew. She's a woman. Oh no. All of us guys should freak out because not only is there one woman character in this, but two? And both of them are strong women? Oh my gosh, I'm so scared. What am I going to do? I don't like this. I honestly don't understand where these people come up with this stuff that say that guys don't want strong women in their comic book or, you know, big like franchises. Again, if it's written well, like it is here, we will watch it. People have been loving Catwoman for years. And maybe I'm forcing that into this episode, but I just, you know, they're really coming on strong with the female empowerment in this episode. And guess what? It doesn't feel forced. They're just bringing it up because it's a thing, and this is like 92. So guess what? This was a big deal. And guess what? We all took it in stride. We were like, cool. The only thing that I noticed was that, you know, like you know, Catwoman today is, you know, got black hair. And in the cartoon, she's got blonde hair. And I'm like, whatever, blonde, brunette, I don't give a shit. Um, so, Selena, we cut to Selena, and she's like swooning over Batman. She doesn't have any interest in Bruce Wayne. He's really laying it on thick. Like, you're more, well, like, what does he say? I mean, he really puts it on here. He's like, you're more exquisite than I even remembered. I'm like, whoa, dude. Like, come on, pump the brakes a little bit. Like, you just, I don't know. That's like laying it on like thick butter over, you know, it's much butter over this much bread. Um, um, but her deal falls through, and Bruce is like, how can I help? And she's like, well, unless you can get a meeting with so and so, this Stern guy from this Multigon Corporation. And I mean, that should have been the first thing she thought of was, hey, this guy could help me. Even her assistant Maven says, hey, man, at least he probably gets you connections. So he makes a phone call, and next thing, boom, here we are, talking to this Stern guy played by Herb Edelman, who he plays. Okay, now this is the first part, and I'm going to say this. There's a few things that make me think of Die Hard in this episode. Okay, just bear with me. So he plays "Ode to Joy" on his piano, his little piano thing. He goes do 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 to pull up the model up from the floor. Now in Die Hard, "Ode to Joy" is used in that movie, and also the Nakatomi people have that big model sitting out for the future that comes. You know, it's not coming out of the floor, but it's in the center of the room, right? Okay, two Die Hard things right there. All right, so I'm maybe making this all up, these connections, but I'm just saying, possibly these people were thinking Die Hard when they were making some of this episode. So, Red Claw, though, is there hiding out behind a, you know, like a false room, like, shh, you know, the door opens, dun dun dun, there she is. And it's all a cover story, and Selena knows it now, and, you know, because they want to put a resort in instead of mountain lions. This guy apparently really likes to see, you know, he really likes to jab at the whole she wants to help animals thing. I'm gonna just take that from you. But they both are like working late, and so I'm desperate to find paper. I keep forgetting to buy a new notebook. Um, Somebody donated some money to PayPal, so I should probably use that money to buy a notebook. Like I said, it's for helping out the channel. So I don't know. I got money for a notebook. So let's see here. Bat goes here questioning the local mobsters. That's how his part that he plays in helping Selena out. and he's like, I'm gonna lean extra hard on you guys unless you could tell me where I can find this Red Claw person. And if you think I've been bad news before, so he's shaking these guys down. Meanwhile, Selena, she breaks into Stern's office, and again, they're showing like Red Claw and Selena being the main antagonist, protagonist. Like Batman is kind of like Mulder and Scully in this, where a lot of times in the X Files they would just show up and would be the investigators, kind of picking up the pieces of something that's already happening. And while the main character would be the protagonist, the antagonist in that kind of episode, the things that are happening to them or things that they're doing. And so that's kind of how I feel about this, is that Catwoman's the protagonist trying to defeat Red Claw, the antagonist, and Batman's just kind of coming up the rear. A lot of people might not like that kind of thing, but I think that's, they're telling her story. This is her intro. It's important to set her up in the world as somebody who's on the same level as Batman, who just works outside of the law. Now, this is the scene that they were talking about animation-wise. You don't see that. You didn't see that where a character is standing in front of animation and having animation overlaid over that while she's in the meeting. Like, that's in movies. You can do that in movies with real people and have reflections off of them. But in animation, that is very, very hard to do, apparently. And it's something that they said shouldn't have worked and did. All these kind of minor miracles that they pulled off all the time on the show just shows, like, again, anybody that wants to, debate me on what's the best animated show of all time, I bring it on, because I have stuff like that to talk about. So, I also wrote like, okay, we have a female antagonist and a female protagonist. Look out, boys club. Ooh, that glass ceiling just got shattered. I, I hope everybody understands that sarcasm, because it's fine. It's just, I keep, in this day and age, I just keep thinking of how people today, if they'd never seen this, would be like, oh, of course, like, this sexist men, looking at the women going, Red Claw, a woman? Like, just because it's written on the page like that doesn't mean that that's how the audience feels. It's supposed to be representative of that, because then they get the response that shows that the men are accepting of it. They're just surprised by it. It's amazing. So this is what we talked about. Yeah, all right. So Selena finds the evidence, but she's being watched by Red Claw, who they're like, this cat, like, she's got this big gun. She's like, they even have that noise and everything. She's like, this cat is at the end of its 9 lives. So they barge into the office, and I was kind of wondering, it's their office, why are they breaking into it? Like, maybe he had the door locked, but it just seems like, wouldn't they have the key? Like, but apparently it's like this big emergency. You want to make a dramatic entrance, so doesn't this guy look like stock French character? I don't know why, but he just does. Sacre bleu! So anyway, here's the next part that reminds me of. So in the same episode, in this building, all right, where it's like this big skyscraper, she's in the ventilation shafts, a la Die Hard. So she used the music to get into the model. Now she's in the ventilation shafts. She's got terrorists, chasing her. She leaves these real cool glass, like real fine glass things, so that anybody that follows her, like, that guy, he gets cut on him. She's got him all over there. That's really cool. Then she gets into the elevator shaft. She's like, okay, time to going up. So she gets into the elevator shaft, a la Die Hard, and climbs up onto the roof, where we have this huge standoff with the terrorist firing at her, right? And you got this hugely powerful Red Claw character, who then, after Selena does this jump off the roof to another building, she takes a grenade launcher and fires it at Catwoman, blasting her off the roof. And of course, when she falls, which is really nicely animated, by the way. This whole first part is really well animated. There's some problems with a few background like people; they look really kind of sloppy. But other than that, Kevin Altieri, as usual, just brings it on home. I hate it when they like. Why couldn't they get him for both episodes? I don't know. I don't try to understand what they go through on making these, but I mean, it's got to be freaking difficult. It's probably why they can't maintain a lot of these shows for very long, especially ones like the animated series is out every day of the week. It's not like Simpsons, who were once a week, and it takes 9 months to make an episode. So I mean, all these people making them anyway. It sucks that we only got 86 episodes or something along those lines. Because I really want them to bring Batman the Animated Series back, guys. I really want them to bring it back. Um, Enough of this like trying for the Batman and Batman Brave and the Bold, and Batman Beyond's fine, but he gets her to the rooftop. I'm going off on all sorts of tangents. To the rescue. She kisses him, and she tries to, or he tries to unmask her, and she's like, no, we can't, like, we have to maintain some sort of mystery between us. Isn't that kind of the thing that we have? Don't we have this, there's this thing between us? And he's like, you're right, there is something between us, and it's the law. Well, she doesn't take too kindly to that, because it means that he's planning on taking her in. And so she pushes him off the rooftop, a la Batman Returns, and says, never trifle with the affections of a woman. And I'm like thinking, he didn't really do that. He was just telling you that I like you, but you're breaking the law. Well, I got to take you in. Sorry. So she, dips out. And we're going to go to episodes and start episode 2. Bear with me, just so we can continue, because we got plenty more to talk about. In fact, they even have a previously on Batman here. But she gets away, she goes back home, and she thinks she's gotten away with everything, and that Batman is in the dust, and nobody's the wiser, but Red Claw has trailed her to her house. And that guy, I mean, I would have thought it was, whatever, but it's one of her goons, and he's like, ha 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 ha, we've got you now, that kind of thing. So we're in kind of a midnight, deep throat kind of situation where Batman's meeting this mobster that he threatened earlier with information, telling him, we'll tell you what we have, but you got to stay away from the South Side. And he's just like, yeah, that's not happening. You give it to me right now, or I'll just tear up your whole organization. But he tells him about there's this non-scheduled train heist that the Army's guarding, and he goes to Gordon with it, and he's like, they didn't tell me. And it's like, well, big surprise, you're a Gotham City cop, that they all know, like, the government doesn't trust Gotham City. You've got a giant bat running around, and your crime rate is insane. You think we're going to tell you, and just in case somebody else finds out through you somehow that there's a train coming with a virus on it, and you're also riddled with supervillains. It's like basically taking out an ad for somebody to rob the train. So, I mean, I know it's all just like I'm creating my own subtext, but I'm just thinking rationally in the writer's room when they say, well, why wouldn't Gordon know? And it's like, well, it's pretty obvious why he wouldn't know. So you got the Army guarding this thing, and I love this guy. He's like, hey, when I joined the Army, man, they didn't tell me I'd be like guarding no plague. It could destroy society. But Red Claw, and her gang here, they attack. And they send the Army guys down the track. They blow, like, the connection up. I don't know why they don't just start shooting from the train. They're all just kind of like, hey, what do we do? It's like, dude, you're Army guys. Like, start shooting. Like, because this guy's got a rocket launcher. Look at him. Oh, I guess we'll go on leave, So they use gas grenades because we don't want to show them blowing up 2 Army guys, even though they're a terrorist organization. Why? I mean, okay, it makes sense, because if they blow them up, then they blow the gas up and everything else. And I'm just thinking, it's actually really smart. in retrospect that they take them guys out like that. But he does blow the door. So, weren't they afraid that the blowing off the door could detonate the gas? Which I love is that it's in like this skull and crossbones case, and so is the actual stuff. Just to make sure that it doesn't, you can't write just like poison or, whatever, like highly contaminated or warning, biohazard. I don't know. But we then get the bat glider. He comes in, knocks these guys up the train. We have this big fight while Red Claw gets to go in and steal everything. And again, the action in this one's really action heavy. The first part, which usually I would think would be Kevin's, would with more action in it, but this one's the one that kind of like first part's the setup. We get some action. We get the introduction of Batman and Catwoman to meeting, and in this, it's all the payoff. The big fights between Red Claw, who's now got the gas, and she threatens like, hey, like this will kill like everybody in a 10-mile radius. So if you're willing, and it's indiscriminate, right? I don't know how that works. Like gas, so the gas picks like a tornado. The gas picks this group of people, but not others. Like I'm sure that it's more intricate than that, but I'm breaking it down into more of like So she gets away because we need to have a more exciting third act. But when he sees her, and he's like, Red Claw, a woman? And she's like, do you have a problem with that? And he's like, not at all. I'm an equal opportunity crime fighter. Boom, drop the mic. Okay, it basically shows that Batman's fine with women being bad guys. If you want to be a bad guy, ladies, go right ahead and be a bad guy. Batman will stop you and not care that you're a lady. And neither did we. We did not care. We wanted you stopped because you didn't like Batman and you were trying to hurt Catwoman. So she gets away. And, so Gordon's phone call when he's talking to the government about the train robbery, and he's like, what am I supposed to do? How do I evacuate 10 million people? Hey, you want me to set up camp outside the Pentagon? Like as a kid, I'm sure that I was like nonplus about it. I say nonplus. I keep saying that. Why do I keep saying nonplus? How did that become part of my vocabulary? Anyway, that's a pretty funny joke. And the Red Claw, though, they're really, again, it's like a robbery, okay, a la Die Hard. They're not actually interested in getting anybody out of, like, jail or people that were captured, or they're not interested in causing actual terror. It's a robbery. They want money for it. They want 1 billion gold bullion. Some terrorists. So it's like, how are they a terrorist organization? In fact, I wish she would have just been like, if there would have been a moment where she'd say, whoever said we were terrorists? I'm telling you, man, they were watching Die Hard when they were writing this episode. I'm telling you. So, yeah, and then the whole line, never underestimate the opposite sex, was in here. And, I mean, there's a few lines in here that are just kind of like, yeah, we get it. Go women. I mean, cool, But at this point, yeah, because they even write down, yeah, us guys really hate strong women on shows. But Bruce and Selina here are attacked in the car, and Bruce recognizes one of the guys that was on the train, and he almost blows his cover by saying, like, this guy's, he's a busy guy. And she's like, what? And he's like, oh, nothing. So they get into this pretty cool car chase down in the Gotham Bridge, where they proceed to play a game of chicken with this guy, and it ends up, they end up going off the bridge and falling into the water. And I was thinking to myself, they just, like, that's a pretty big deal. Like, this is a pretty big accident. Like, you just kind of created on this bridge burst, not really caring about anybody else. And these guys go flying off. I'm like, well, then who's going to capture these guys? They just get away, like, they just drive away. I mean, that's a lot of damage to the bridge. So anyway, I mean, but they at least do say, like, after the fact, that, that on this date, he's never had to fill out police reports. Look at all that. All those cars and everything, they just kind of drive away. I don't know. It's just kind of... It just makes you wonder, like, the logistics of actually doing superhero work if it was actually really happening. Um, so Red Claw's gun is going over the bridge, blah, blah, blah. Bruce then, he admits his feelings here to Selena, like, hey, man, I really have feelings for you. And I haven't felt like this in a really, really long time, which pays off in spades when Batman Mask of the Phantasm comes out. We get to see that relationship that he's alluding to having somebody, feelings for somebody a long time ago. And so I love that. Like, if you really think about it, this line here is foreshadowing for Batman Mask of the Phantasm. But it's just something that you'd have to file away in your brain and remember it later. But I didn't, like, I'm just realizing this now because I haven't seen this in, like, a freaking long time. But she's like, look, I'm sorry, Bruce, but I'm no damsel in distress, so, I'll be fine. But you know how this is going to go. So she realizes, like they're trying to kill her to cover up what's inside the Multigon place and the bunkers underneath that nobody wants to know about, where this resort is supposed to be happening, where her mountain lion preserve is supposed to be at. So she goes to find out what's really going on. Meanwhile, Alfred here, he's talking to Bruce about, just giving him some advice about this whole thing. Like, hey man, like, I don't want to question, how you're doing things here, but are you sure, like, this, like, Catwoman lady is, like, But he finds the cat hair on his coat. Now, see, in other episodes, you might have seen him using, like, the computer to try to scan, like, what kind of cat this is. Maybe they could have found out that her cat was rare. But in this, they just say, oh, the hair is really weird looking. And where have I seen this before? Oh, yeah, I've seen it on Selena's cat. Uh-oh, two and two together, Selena's Catwoman. He figures it all out. Oh, right here, we get this really cool, tense scene where one of Red Claw's goons go to attack Maven. And it's a pretty nicely well set up scene and tense, where she's just kind of going about her day in a dark office for some, she turns on the light, but she's just sitting there on the couch having a drink of, I don't know, orange juice. She brings a whole pitcher out with her. What a boring night. What a boring night. Selena gets to go out and, like, jump all over a bridge, like, jump on rooftops and rob people and stuff of jewelry, and she's just sitting at home with a glass of orange juice on the couch, doesn't even have the TV on. Well, she sees the guy's reflection in the table, and that's pretty nifty. I thought that's a really nice touch of, like, she could have been attacked and whatever, but she sees the reflection, is able to get the, try to run away. And while she's about to be hurt by this guy, that's when, dun 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 dun, Batman grabs this guy, beats the holy hell out of him, but her glasses have fallen off, right? So she's sitting around pulling a Velma from Scooby-Doo, like, I can't find my glasses, I can't see without my glasses. So she can't, even blurry, okay? They do a nice job showing blurriness of her eyes there, but I mean, even blurred, she could see that was Batman. Then she puts on her glasses like, oh. And it's not like he doesn't just come right back in there like he's doing right now and telling her, like, hey, you guys are in some serious shit. And you need to get out of here. Take the cat and get out of town, because these terrorists aren't just after Selena. They're after you, too. And so Bats, tells her, I need to know where Selena is. I figured out who she is. And she tells him about the Multigon site, but also tells him that if you figured out who she is, then you should also know. I mean, dude, if I was Selena, I'd be pissed at her, like, talking out of school, because she's like, yeah, she loves you, right? How many people get mad when somebody tells somebody else, like, yeah, that person's in love with you? I'd be mad. I don't know. Or it'd just be awkward the next time you see each other, whatever. So here we are at the Gotham outskirts where this Multigon corporation is. And they show the mountain lion, right? And Catwoman starts taking out all the guys. And I just was thinking to myself, I kept asking myself, and they never bring it up again, It's like just for the like they were like, what would Catwoman want as motivation in this episode? Some sort of animal thing. She likes cats, right? Well, we'll just say that she's making a mountain lion preserve because they need it to be some kind of grand thing. So we're just gonna say that Gotham City, right outside of town, there's this whole mountain range just riddled with mountain lions. And I've got nothing against mountain lions; they're awesome. It's just so it's like a convenient thing because they never bring it up again. It's never like they just show the surrounding outskirts of Gotham City with like maybe a mountain lion in the background. Just never gets brought up again. Which again, just cartoon, forget it. Logic, just throw it away. It's just a story, Rob. Stop worrying about things like this. So they get in there. They're fighting together. She gets a drop on him. Now, like she can train like her cat, but how can she control that mountain lion? So she ties that guy up, and the mountain lion is just gonna what? Not eat him? Like they don't even think about that. He shows up. He doesn't say anything about it. There's a mountain lion. It's going to eat that guy. Okay, unless that she's some sort of has some sort of hypnotic spell on all cats. Like look, in Batman Returns, you could tell that there was some sort of power that cats were drawn to her, right? But that doesn't mean that it works with other people. I mean, as soon as she walks away, that mountain lion's gonna eat that dude's face. It's gonna lick it off, like in South Park, where like when the chef died. Spoilers for South Park. So they get in there, but they immediately are trapped by Red Claw, and they get trapped and they get tied up, and this is where she says, like, well, I'm going to use the gas on you. I'm just going to kill you guys. And he's like, well, if you use the gas on us, like, what are you going to use to attack the city if they don't pay you? And she's like, oh, well, we're just going to use this placebo. And, they'll just pay us anyway. So again, just showing, like, she's not interested in even using the gas. She's not even a real terrorist. She's just a well-thought, like, she's just a really... Maybe she's using the gold bullion for another terrorist attack. I don't know. I don't think we ever even get it. Did we get a callback for Red Claw ever in the show? I think there may be a revenge story with Catwoman where her cat goes missing or something. I'm not 100% sure, but I thought that this was the only appearance by Red Claw. If I'm wrong about that, somebody put it in the comment section. But she has no interest in killing a bunch of people. She just wants a bunch of money. So they use the gas on them, where she conveniently just now goes, oh yeah, I got my claws here. Could have gotten out of this whenever they weren't in the room, because they weren't in the room before. They could have just been ready for them to like ambush them, like let's get out of here. But for dramatic effect, she conveniently doesn't use her claws until just now. Again, it's a 20-minute show. They have a story to tell. You can forgive a few stupid things that don't make sense. So, but also that's cool is this whole facility that the resort was going to be built on is a government facility that was used like the underground place. Was that NORAD or where it's for the a nuclear disaster? Then high-level government officials would go there. So again, pretty convenient so that she uses the gas down there. It's not going to get out. It's almost as if she doesn't want the gas to get out. Red Claw, I mean. So they get out. He tells Catwoman, you've got to get out of here. All right? Just please, for once in your life, just listen to what I'm saying and get out of here. I'm going to take care of the gas. So he gets the gas because, of course, there's a big truck full of gasoline and a box of hand grenades because Army was there. Whatever. So he takes the hose full of gasoline, brings it in there, hoses it down by where the gas is, and then gets back in the truck here. And then drives away, spilling gas everywhere. Pretty self-explanatory. Boom, goes the dynamite. He torches the whole place. Now, they talked about this in the trivia that I was looking up. That Bruce Timm said they had to animate this over and over and over again because it just never looked right. And finally, they just had to air what they had because they ran out of time. They ran out of time and possibly out of money. I don't think it looks that bad. I think it looks pretty good. Maybe some of the fire effects look a little weird, like right kind of there. But then he uses like the truck as a kamikaze like missile at Red Claw's big helicopter and blows like everything up. There's a lot of explosions here. Michael Bay would be proud, but this is way better than a Michael Bay movie in 20 minutes. So everything gets blown up. Red Claw's plans are all messed up, and here come the cops in their helicopters to bust everybody. And unfortunately for Catwoman, Red Claw like gets the drop on her, and she attacks her. And so we've got the two strong women characters finally confronting each other physically, where Red Claw ends up getting like the upper hand, and she's about to kill Catwoman. And I'm still that gold belt around her. That is so weird. Does anybody else find that weird? That she just has that there. It's like her own utility belt. Maybe that's why they designed it there, is they wanted to show some kind of similarity to that Batwoman and Catwoman's designs, and the way of doing things are kind of similar. Like, dude, does she have things in those things? But anyway, right here, the mountain lion from earlier probably wasn't done. Was probably still hungry from eating that other guy. Attacks Red Claw. Now they just leave her there, right? She's under the thing's attack. Why isn't it killing her? I don't know. It should be killing her. Instead, it's just like sitting there. So she, gives the kiss goodbye, and Batman's like, gives it that squinty look. Gordon comes, congratulations, you stopped all this from happening. Um, and then, like I said, like they don't show her getting arrested. So I guess you can assume that what they do, like how'd they get the mountain lion away from Red Claw to arrest her? They shoot it? I don't know. So she gets away. She goes back home. She's looking for Maven, her assistant. Bats is here, and they have their confrontation, their final kind of like for now moment where their feelings are out there. Even the cat's now warmed up to him. But unfortunately, like he said earlier, we have something between us. It's really special, but unfortunately, it's the law. And he cuffs her anyway. And that's the end of the episode. And it's amazing because, again, he still stays true to his character. I don't know if we ever see her get taken in and she just escapes or something. I don't think we ever see her in jail. So anyway, that's The Cat in the Claw, man. It's a pretty awesome two-parter. I don't see any problems with the animation. I guess, but they're probably more critical of it than the audience is. I only saw a few things that looked a little bit messy, but otherwise it was fantastic. It's a great introduction for Catwoman. And here we are, like back at the beginning. I've talked this long. We've watched 2 full episodes back here. So anyway, this is Rob saying if you liked this review, please hit the like button. Comment, share, subscribe if you're not a subscriber. If you're enjoying the content, please become a subscriber. Any help to the channel would be greatly appreciated. In fact, if you feel so inclined to donate to the channel, we have a paypal.me. It's at paypal.me/smirkingandreviews. You want to donate to the channel, make the channel look better, feel better, whatever, feel better. Otherwise, yeah, you can find me on Twitter at reviews_gun if you want to follow me and message me or talk to me there about stuff, or you can just see what random things I post on there. Otherwise, this is Rob at Smirking Gun Reviews saying have a great day, and we will see you on the next Batman the Animated Series. Bye.